Sita Pragyatam Stauti. He now praises, he now glorifies the status of a Sthita Pragya. Brahmi, you find this word here. Esha Brahmi, Brahmi, spiritual. Spiritual is the sense that which brings you to the spiritual platform. So even if one can situate himself finally, then he will come to this point. Nanu tasyam sthitah katham brahma prapnoti. How is it that the person is just self-realized? How can he attain God realization? Tat praptehe tad bhakti hetukatvat. Because to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you need to engage in bhakti. Itichet, anticipating this, it is then replied, Tasyas tad bhakti hetukatvat tad hetutvat cha tad prapakata. No, it is because of devotional service unto Krishna's lotus feet that you attain self-realization. And it is because of self-realization that you will engage in further devotional service unto Krishna's lotus feet. So in track 1, you attain self-realization first, then God realization next, then full devotional service unto the Lord. That way it goes. Normally, because we are much more accustomed to the pathway of pure devotional service, in pure devotional service, you attain self-realization and God realization simultaneously. Like Prabhupada's standard example, when the sun rises, you see the sun and you see yourself also. So that is for track 2, track 3. But in track 1, it's not like that. First you become self-realized, then you become God realized. Nishkama karma bhir jnani harimeva smaran bhavet. Through engagement in karma pradhana, karma jnana bhakti, in a nishkama spirit, without any materialistic desires, then one can become a jnani, one can become a possessor of spiritual realization while remembering Lord Hari. Anyatha vighne veti. Otherwise, he will attain obstacles. He will not be able to come to the point of jnana or spiritual realization. He will not be able to realize that he is a spirit. Iti dvitiyodhyaya nirnaya. This is to be concluded from the 2nd chapter. I want someone to read text 2, Bhakti Thakur. At the time of death, when he performs, if he attains this position, he attains Brahma Nirvana. The situation of attaining Brahman is called Brahma and liberation from matter which leads to attainment of Brahman is called Brahma Nirvana. The subsequent difference from matter is called Brahman. And since one is situated in this tattva, one attains spiritual Brahman. This chapter is called Vidvan. Summary of the Gita. Since in this karma and jnana are clearly described and bhakti, which is their goal, is immediately described. The nature of the fulfillment is described in verse from verse 11 to 30. There is a discussion on what is Atma and what is not Atma. From verse 31 to 38, there is a discussion on sin and piety within Karma Yoga, which is the very form of Swadharma. From verse 69 to the end of the chapter, Nishkam Karma Yoga, for understanding the real nature of Atma, in the form of a combination of jnana and karma, previously studied, and the life and conduct of a person situated in yoga are studied. Wait, let me just look at this. One can attain Krishna consciousness or divine life at once within a second, or one may not attain such a state of life even after millions of births. It is only a matter of understanding and accepting the fact. Khatwanga Maharaj attained the state of life just a few minutes before his death by surrendering unto Krishna. Nirvana means ending the process of materialistic life. So it's not like the Buddhist concept of nirvana. This is Brahma nirvana, spiritual nirvana. There is no difference between the kingdom of God and the devotion service of the Lord. Attainment of Krishna consciousness, even during this life, is immediate attainment of Brahman. And one who is situated in Krishna consciousness has certainly already entered into the kingdom of God. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has summarized the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as being the contents for the whole text. Okay.
Within certain on that one, how is it possible to attain self-realization without body?
He just realizes that he is not the body. He doesn't realize his constitutional nature and all that. Yeah, it's just only this much, limited. First, he realizes that he is not the body, not material. Then he realizes that he is qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord. Then he realizes he is different from the Lord. At that point only, Sambandha Gyan comes. Your question was about Saubhari. Okay, what is wrong with Saubhari? How he could have fallen down, even though he was engaged in meditation. Okay, 10.17.11 purport. The Acharyas explain in this regard that because of Saubhari Muni's material attachment and affection for a fish, he failed to see the situation from the spiritual viewpoint. The 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam describes his fall down for this offense. Because of false pride, Saubhari Muni lost his power of austerity and with it his spiritual beauty and happiness. When Garuda came to the Yamuna, Saubhari Muni thought, although he may be a personal associate of the Supreme Lord, I will still curse him and even kill him if he disobeys my order. Such an offensive attitude against an exalted Vaishnava will certainly destroy one's auspicious position in life. As the 9th canto describes, Saubhari Muni married many beautiful women and suffered greatly in their association. Suffered greatly means he experienced regular household life, that's all. Not that he had special marriage problems. In Vedic civilization, you don't come across it often. But because he had once become glorious by taking shelter of the Yamuna river in Sri Vrindavan, he was ultimately delivered. He committed a great offense. Okay, here, this is 9th canto. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur remarks that Saubhari Muni had fallen from his austerity because of a Vaishnava aparadha. The history is that when Garuda wanted to eat fish, Saubhari Muni unnecessarily gave the fish shelter under his care. Because Garuda's plans for eating were disappointed, Saubhari Muni certainly committed a great offense to a Vaishnava. Because of this Vaishnava aparadha, an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, Saubhari Muni fell from his exalted position of mystic tapasya. One should not therefore impede the activities of a Vaishnava. This is the lesson we must learn from this incident concerning Saubhari Muni. So he was engaged in meditation on Lord Vishnu. Ashtanga Yoga and Krishna consciousness he was doing. But he offended such a great devotee as Garuda. Simply because this fish went and they took shelter of Saubhari Muni and Saubhari wanted to save the fish from Garuda. Now fish is Garuda's food. This is natural food. It's just this natural food. It's a bird. Birds eat fish. He eats fish. That's all. But then unnecessarily he came between Garuda and Garuda's lunch and then got into trouble. Totally unnecessary. This is again another instance of problem because of material compassion. That is why compassion has its limits. If you would want to do good to others and to yourself, you have to know what is actually good, what is not good. Unnecessarily just, otherwise it becomes like a manovegam, I want to do good to the fish, I want to do good to the deer, I want to do good to the girls, I want to do good to the boys, I want to do good to the old people, big people, this one, that is, then you're just flowing by the mind. Some people have these kind of concepts very strong since many lifetimes. So that enters into this lifetime also. We should be careful that our minds don't take us into a trip like this. Anything is fine, but ultimately we should be careful at least of Vaishnava Aparad. Anything is okay, but at least Vaishnava. This is all very dangerous. We develop the arrogance to even threaten somebody as great as Garuda, Lord Vishnu's own carrier. We should be very careful. That lesson we can learn from them. We can always, we do whatever we are told to do, and then we go and complain to Radha Madhav. Radha Madhav say, why am I having to be in between all these complications? I came not for this purpose. And then Radha Madhav will solve the problem. Often most probably will come. That's also more reason why our progress is delayed. We have to be very careful. To make it more complicated, there is something called Jiva Aparad, which is basically a Vaishnava Aparad. You can also offend non-Vaishnavas. No, it will. It is one of the anarthas. One of the 16 anarthas. So we have to be careful. But no, if we take shelter of Krishna, Krishna will help. Because Krishna is more concerned about us being with him than we are. Naturally, Krishna will help. When Krishna is holding our hands, then he can easily guide us towards the right path. Otherwise, we become very confused, like a maze, Anything you turn, you get into a trouble. So, unless Krishna himself helps us, it is very, very difficult. But it's a fact, we will see. As suppose we develop the desire to serve Krishna purely, then Krishna himself becomes our helper. He himself guides us as a guru. So he becomes the background guru. He himself helps us. That is safe, because otherwise it's so complicated sometimes. Everything looks okay, and then after 10 years you study and you hear and then you learn that actually it was not okay. So now who's going to give us alert signal from before? We may not understand, but at least when Krishna saves us, then later on we will understand what the problem is. So in order to receive guidance from Krishna on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis, we also need to be sufficiently serious. When we do Shadanga Sharanagati, 6-limbed surrender, then from that moment onwards, Krishna starts guiding us. The moment we stop surrendering unto Krishna, surrender is a technical expression. It means all the 6 items. There is one songbook called Sharanagati by Bhakti. If you analyze that, you will have a clear understanding of what is Sharanagati. So from the time we start surrendering unto Krishna fully, that is actually the beginning of Shraddha. Ado Shraddha. So Shraddha is internal, Sharanagati is external. Sharanagati is the proof of Shraddha. So when we engage in Shadanga Sharanagati, we may be doing devotion service on a routine basis, but we may not be surrendered. So when we engage in devotion service along with surrender, from that very moment, Krishna will start helping. You will enter into our lives and otherwise it's all too perplexing. Something you do, suddenly they say, Seva Para, Nama Para, Jita Para, Data Para, what is this? You become completely puzzled. Anything I do is a problem. And you cannot go back also. You try to go back, then that is another kind of problem. Because by this time you also understand that it's foolishness. It's complete foolishness to enter into a dharma. And dharma, you lost its appeal. What is that? It's just some materialistic activity, which can upgrade my material situation, but it's not going to help. Just like a hungry person, if you put him in an AC room, it doesn't help. If you keep him starving and in an AC room, it doesn't help. He's hungry, he needs food. So when we progress in Krishna consciousness, just upgrading our material environment is not going to help. So when we realize it, then that is the time onwards. From that, we need to surrender to Krishna's lotus feet. Sharanagati is very important, very, very important. Sharanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jaha, Tar Prarthana Shune Shri Nandakumar. Lord Shri Krishna listens to the prayer of one who engages in the 6 items of surrender. Okay, let's move on. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga.
Before we do that, we have discussed about detachment, detachment, or detachment. Detachment that we are not worried about things, so other than that detachment and other things are included in that.
What else is included in detachment?
Yeah.
Detachment means here, by detachment and realization, I simply mean Jnana Vairagya, internal detachment and external renunciation. Both has to be there. Okay. Similarly, realized knowledge and theoretical knowledge, both has to be there. So now that detachment means to give up anything which does not help me progress towards the final goal. Okay. Internal detachment means I give up the desires for anything which is an obstacle for attaining the final goal. External renunciation means I actually give up all activities which can become obstacles. So just clearing the pathway. But for that we require strength. For that we require knowledge and realization. But that has to come. Realization is not something that comes. Now we have a lot of theoretical knowledge maybe, but realized knowledge is something else. Realized knowledge is something else. Yeah, it is like this. The Atma itself has to be able to see, Right now we only see whatever the senses are showing us. That's all. The Atma has to start seeing. So, all of that is true. तृतीये कर्म निष्कामं विस्तरेणोपवर्णितं कामादे विजयोपायो दुर्जयस्यापि दर्शितः. Third chapter has an elaborate discussion, elaborate description of nishkama karma. Other subjects, the means by which one can conquer lust and so on, even though they are very difficult to be conquered. That is also brought out here. Purvatra, Kripaluhu, Parthasaratihi, Ajnana Kardamani Magnam Jagat, Svatma Jnana Upasana Upadeshena Sampuddhirshuhu, Tadangabhutam, Jivatma Yathatma Buddhim Upadeshya, Tad Upayataya Nishkamakam, Nishkamakam. No, this is wrong. Nishkamakam. Karma Buddhim Upadishtavan. So in the previous chapter, the merciful Parthasarathi, he, out of a desire to deliver the entire world, which is immersed in the mud of ignorance, he wanted to deliver this world by giving an instruction about how to worship him, about worshipping him, about realizing him, and so on. So with this in mind, first of all, he taught about how to attain realization about the true nature of the Jivatma, which is a part of God realization, the pathway of God realization. And in order to come to that point, one has to have sufficient intelligence and determination to engage in nishkama karma. Ayam eva arthaha vinishchayaya chaturbhir adhyayai vidhantarai varnyate. This very teaching is now explained in a different manner in 4 chapters. Chapters 3, 4, 5, 6. In order that we have a very firm and clear understanding of this subject. Tatra karma buddhi nishpadyatva jivatma uddesh shreshtham sthitam. Now, in karma, intelligence is very important. So the intelligence of the Jivatma is understood to be most important here. In other words, one's realization is most important. So Arjuna understood this much, that it is realization that is most important here. So with this in mind, this chapter begins. Arjuna said, O Janardana, O Keshava, if it's your opinion that fixed intelligence directed to bhakti beyond the gunas is superior to karma, then why do you permit me to engage in karma in the form of this terrible war for attaining intelligence? And the path of realization has been recommended, Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia. And one with such a misunderstanding often withdraws to a secluded place to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in a secluded place where one may acquire only cheap adoration from the innocent public. Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness or Buddhi Yoga or intelligence and spiritual advancement of knowledge, or something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. In answer, Lord Krishna elaborately explained Karma Yoga or work in Krishna consciousness in this third chapter. So Arjuna's point is, so it's realization. Because if one has realization, then he no longer needs to, he has no more any obligation. So then why are you telling me to engage in this inferior activity? It's all realization, that's the point, no? So then since that is higher, you should just push me to understand and realize the spiritual subject matter. Why are you telling me to engage in this terrible activity? Because the activity of a warfare, in that you are not contemplating about the spiritual reality and all. You are in a warfare, you are supposed to go and kill, that's all. So you are telling me this is going to lead to some spiritual realization. This is Arjuna's question. Text 2.
My intelligence is revealed by a few vocal expressions. Therefore, each person decides to do which will be more satisfactory.
See, notice that Arjuna is saying that he's saying that in reality, you would not be bewildering me. But it appears to me that you are bewildering me. Vastutastu sarveshwarasya matsakasya cha me man mohakata nastyeva. In reality, since you are the Lord of everyone and you are also my friend, you would not have a desire to bewilder me. But buddhi dosha, but because my intelligence is defective, evam pratyeva. But I perceive it like that. It appears to me that you are confusing me. Aham iti eva shabda. Therefore, he uses the word eva. Tat tasmad ekam avyamishram vakyam vada. So say one thing. Don't say two different things. Don't say that ultimately it's a realization. If it's ultimately realization, I should do that ultimate activity. Why you're telling me to do some other activity now? You tell me for sure what I'm supposed to do. You tell me exactly what I should do. Because the Shruti also says that it is not through karma, na prajaya, dhanena, tyagena, ikatna, amritatvamana, sure. The Shruti also says it's not through material duties. It is not by having good children. It is not by giving in wealth. It is not by acquiring wealth. It is not by giving wealth in charity that one can attain the status of liberation. So why I should be engaged in some activity now, which is not even required for me? Arjuna wanted to clear up these apparently confusing matters so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his questions, is clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita. Even when the first time we hear that actually all we need to do is chant Hare Krishna, our immediate reflex action is, so then I should just sit and chant. All of us should be sitting and chanting. Why are we wasting our time, wasting each other's time, the whole world's time? Why all this? But it is not so easy. It is not so easy unless you come to that point of realization, understanding. It is not so easy. Even though theoretically it is open to all, we also notice that very few people actually can stick to very intense form of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, there are so many things which prepare us to that point. Just like small children cannot understand how somebody like a judge gets so much salary. What do? He just comes and sits. He hears different people, quiet most of the time, and he just writes something, and he puts one. There's a hammer. He hammers that. He signs something. That's all. That's all. He just does very few things he does, and he gets paid so much. So they may not understand what is this, But same way it is. Until we come to the point of full spiritual maturity, we chant. Here also Prabhupada told one of his assistants. Initially, Mayapur was just some field. So that devotee, he asked Prabhupada, in America, we have temples, centers, so much preaching is going on, different activities, projects are all going on. And here we are in the middle of some fields. What do you want to do here? And then Prabhupada just told him, actually the process of Krishna consciousness is very simple. You just sit down and chant, that's all. But you people are so restless that I have to tax my brain and come up with one thing after another just to engage your intelligence and mind in different ways. But actually the process is very simple. You just sit down and chant. Now, but the process of sitting down and chanting and all seems unbearable pain. In fact, it would be easier instead of chanting 64 rounds and making quick spiritual progress, or 100 rounds. Like Prabhupada wanted farm communities so that they can just chant 100 rounds and easily make spiritual progress. He said it's just one sentence where he says it so easily. To implement it, we find it almost next to impossible. Restless. We need to cool down. So therefore, there are so many procedures how to cool us down. Just on hearing all the teachings you gave to me, it seems that there are many unconnected meanings. In some places, you taught Nirguna Bhakti attained by a devotee's mercy, Atma-jnana. In other places, you permitted me to perform karma after revealing my qualification for karma. From this, I must say that sattvic karma is superior to rajasic karma, and better than sattvic karma is jnana. Jnana is also a special sattvic karma. If I do not have qualification for attaining Nirguna Bhakti means transcendental form of devotional service. Give me teachings on sattvic karma, this is all Vishnu Chakravarti. Give me teachings on sattvika karma, that is on jnana, by which I will become free from the bondage of samsara. It is better to give instructions on karma to a person qualified for karma. The basic idea is, I am much more qualified than to do this low-class activity of, what is this? I am supposed to be doing this third-class activity. I am supposed to be doing higher forms of spiritual practice. All right, I accept. This is also, this is some type of devotional service, okay. But this is, why I should do Karma Yoga Krishna consciousness? I can be doing Jnana Yoga Krishna consciousness, or Ashtanga Yoga Krishna consciousness, or Bhakti Yoga Krishna consciousness. Why I should be doing this? So that is in Arjuna's mind. But at the same time, he also is accepting a humble position. There must be some reason why Krishna is saying. So since there is some reason, I don't understand what that reason is. But whatever it is, please tell me. But please this time tell me clearly. Clearly means Do this and only this and nothing else but this. Once Bhakti Maharaj told me, when you teach, you should simply tell them, just shut up. Don't start saying this thing, that thing, all these things. Just listen to me, that's all. So he said, this is how we deal with neophytes. Prabhupada also in one place, what is this? Just too much. Can you call Bhavagrani to see if somebody is using it or what? This Mataji will start a revolution. You shouldn't solve this problem. Just a minute, Mataji, just trying to resolve something.
Okay.
Yeah, we should put a rule that when one meeting is there, nobody else should sign in. Yeah. Okay, so let's move to text number 3. Oh, I'm sorry. You continue.
There are two classes of math. Speculation and the other devotional study.
Okay. Evam Prishto Bhagavan Vata Lokestamisi. So when Lord Krishna was asked this question, he answered as follows. Hey Anagha, Anagha, Maya Anagha. Last word in the first line, O sinless one. So Nirmala Buddhe, which indicates that Arjuna's intelligence was spotless. Partha, was son of Ritha. You are thinking that karma, buddhi, material prescribed duty, and spiritual realization are the opposite of each other. Sorry, karma buddhi and sankhya buddhi. The intelligence that is required for material duty and the intelligence that is required for spiritual realization. You're thinking that they are like darkness and light. Where there is darkness, there is no light. Where there is light, there is no darkness. It is not like that. Rather, both of them can be in the same individual, and one could be minor and another could be major. So that you are not able to understand. Therefore, you are thinking that if a person hankers for liberation, immediately he should be engaged in the activities which produce realization. No, it may not be like that. He may also be having some desire for material happiness. So that also has to be dealt with. In fact, considering that this person is hankering for liberation, then you will have to consider whether the person's mind is pure or impure. So in that way, there are two different statuses. I have already brought this out in the previous chapter, but now I will talk more clearly. So in other words, there are those whose minds are pure and there are those whose minds are not yet pure. So for those whose minds are pure, they have to engage in activities which directly produce realization. For those whose minds are not yet pure, the mind has to be cleansed. And for cleaning, there's a process. Actually, these kind of things, it's just like even in today's world, we eat, Suppose you are given a plate. Before you eat, you take your plate, you wash it with soap, and then you wash it with water, then you sit down, you eat. Eating is a single process. Okay. Technically speaking, eating is taking cooked, edible foodstuff and putting it into the mouth and then eating. But then you need a plate. The plate has to be clean. If these things are not there, then you have to arrange for this. But when you go through the process, you do it subconsciously. The activity of cleaning a plate is entirely different from the activity of eating. But still we accept it. So that is how they think in track 1. Right now we require to become pure. It is not that I am doing something else. It's just part. Everything is, it's all a part of the same process. In order to become pure, I'm engaged in these activities. Through these activities, I'll become detached, I'll become realized. Happens. Everything happens. Gradually it happens. So, for the one whose mind is pure, they can directly engage in spiritual activities. But for those whose minds are not pure, they will not be able to engage. No matter how much you say, they will not be able to engage. So there are two different statuses here. According to the status, I have spoken differently. Evam muktam bhavati. Na khalu mumukshur janas tadaiva shamadhya angikam jnananishtham lavate. Not that a person has a desire for liberation and instantly he is having the ability to be fixed on the platform of spiritual realization with control of the senses, control of the mind, and so on. Into sa acharena karma yogena chitta malinyam nirdhuya eva. This, when he engages in karma yoga with all the practices involved, his mind's impurities are removed, only then he will be able to be fixed on that platform. I have already mentioned this earlier on. I told that so far I'm telling you, I'm talking about the intelligence about the spirit soul as being different from the body. Now I'm going to talk to you about the process by which you realize it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, can someone read this? Text 3 translation.
Lord said, I am not taught in the previous chapter that Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga are both mutually independent methods for liberation. There is no method for liberation except Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of the real nature of Atma. There are two types of this sadhana of Bhakti Yoga or the yoga of the real nature of Atma. Those of pure heart ascending to the level of jnana become fixed in Sankhya Yoga or jnana. Being fixed in Karma Yoga in order to become pure of the heart is not expected by them. By being fixed in Sankhya Yoga alone, they ascend to Bhakti Yoga or the yoga of the real nature of Atma. Those who are not pure in heart are ascending to jnana level. After ascending to jnana level, and Nitkam Karma Yoga finally attains liberation by Bhakti in terms of the real nature of Atma. Actually, the ladder to attain the level of Bhakti is only one. There are two types of steadiness according to the state of a person.
Karma Pradhana Karma Jnana Bhakti. Next stage, Jnana Pradhana Karma Jnana Bhakti. Next stage, Bhakti Pradhana Karma Jnana Bhakti. Should I make it all more complicated? There are... No, I'll just leave it like that. That's fine. Yes, keep it as simple as possible. Okay. So, from here to here. Now Krishna is going to analyze how do we move here. And he's going to take a microscope and show each stage how we move up. Okay. Krishna's point is very simple, that even though the pathway of spiritual realization is available, those whose hearts are impure will not be inclined to take advantage of it. When we come under the association of pure devotees and we agree to listen to them, then by their influence, we develop spiritual faith, spiritual enthusiasm, and therefore we can accept it. But when they don't come and help you like that, then the only other way is to progress through detachment and realization. You have no other way. If you want to progress, either you progress through faith and enthusiasm, but faith and enthusiasm doesn't come from the sky, It comes from a person who has faith and enthusiasm. And that person should be there in front of you. He needs to be there. If you don't, that is one side. The other side is we need to submit to them. So I need to find such a person who has that kind of faith and enthusiasm. I need to surrender to that person's instructions also. Then only that will work. But if I don't have that, then what do? Therefore, this pathway is brought up. In the 12th chapter commentary, we will come across that. Why is this even there? I used to have this question. Why is Krishna speaking 18 chapters? Why can't he just speak 12 chapters and finish off? First, cut out the entire, first 6 chapters. It is all talking. Okay, why? But this is very, very important. It is very important for whom? For the majority crowd, actually. The majority will actually go through this. Life after life, they'll just keep resuming. For them, this is very, very important. This is Baladev Vidyabhushana's presentation. But if you go by the even much more common presentation, it's actually very simple. Adharma plus karma plus jnana plus bhakti. Karma is predominant. From this, actually, you increase jnana activities. And then adharma plus karma plus jnana plus bhakti, jnana will become predominant. Then you increase bhakti activity. Then it will become adharma plus karma plus jnana plus bhakti, where bhakti is predominant. That is exactly this. See this? That is this medicine. But how many people will be inclined to increasingly spend time on the jnana activity? I've showed you what is this jnana activities. I'll show you another place where it comes. Here. This canto. Jnana activities are also mentioned here. Here. Tapasa, brahmacharyena, shamena cha, damena cha, tyagena, satyashauchabhyam, yamena, niyamena va. Rehavag buddhijam dhira, dharmagya shadhayanvita, shipantyagam mahadapi, venu gulmam ivanalaha. To concentrate the mind, one must observe a life of celibacy and not fall down. One must undergo the austerity of voluntarily giving up sense enjoyment. One must then control the mind and senses, give charity, be truthful, clean and non-violent, follow the regulated principles, and regularly chant the holy name of the Lord. So, this is what is known as the Jnana discipline. So, how many people will be very inclined to, and this brahmacharya is, super brahmacharya, which is one should not think of women, speak about sex life, dally with women, look. This is actually common for Jnana system, yoga system, bhakti system, everywhere. Okay, but these things become very, very serious if one wants to increase these jnana activities. Because unless you do that, then you will not come to the point where jnana is predominant. So, and then afterwards, then you have to make bhakti predominant. So, since this was all very standard previously, only in Kali Yuga, the conditioned souls, we are not, we are too much tamasic, so very difficult to increase in any activity other than bhakti, in fact. In fact, even the ordinary regulations of karma or devotees are struggling. Something as simple as don't divorce and remarry. That's all. Just one of the basic regulations in karma. Our people cannot follow them. Suffering. Prabhupada himself said, you people are so dissatisfied. Husband is not satisfactory, wife is not satisfactory. Why can't you just accept that, okay, according to your karma, Krishna has given you somebody, that's all. Whatever you want, next life you'll get. No, next life we cannot imagine. Everything now, today, not even tomorrow. So, Kali Yuga souls, no. So, how can we aim for things which are so slow in their result? But bhakti at least we can do, because bhakti is the activity of the Jivatma, and we all happen to be Jivatma. So we can all execute bhakti activity under proper guidance. But that pathway is prescribed. It is prescribed. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self in relation to the super self. The indirect process is philosophical speculation, by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness. And the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna and Krishna consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better, because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. So the indirect pathway means from karma pradhana karma jnana bhakti, you go to jnana pradhana karma jnana bhakti, and then you go to bhakti pradhana karma jnana bhakti. The direct process is this, what we have here. Directly. Otherwise, the indirect process is this. So the starting point and ending point is the same. Just that you have to go through detachment and realization. The direct pathway is just faith and enthusiasm. You develop faith and enthusiasm that this is what actually I'm supposed to be doing in life. That's all. Go. But that also has its own utility for certain people. Okay, text 4.
Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection.
अतः अशुद्ध चित्तेन चित्तशुद्धे स्वविहितानि कर्माणि एव अनुष्ठेयानि. So for a person whose mind is impure, in order to attain purification of mind, he must engage in the material duties prescribed for him. That is now stated here in 13 verses, beginning with the current verse. By avoiding performance of scriptural karmas, a person cannot attain steadiness in jnana in the form of naishkarmya. Naishkarmya means the platform of being transcendental to material duties and so on. Just by renunciation of scriptural karmas, how can an impure person attain perfection? By avoiding performance of prescribed karmas, a person cannot attain steadiness in jnana, naishkarmya. By renunciation of prescribed karmas, an impure person cannot attain perfection. The renounced order of life can be accepted when one has been purified by the discharge of the prescribed form of duties which are laid down just to purify the hearts of materialistic men. Without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of life, sannyas. In fact, in sannyas, one is expected to engage either in bhakti activities or yoga activities or jnana activities. In Vedic dharma, this much is understood, because these are all spiritual activities: jnana, yoga, and bhakti. Jnana can lead to Brahman realization. Yoga can lead to Paramatma realization. Bhakti can lead to Bhagavan realization. It's commonly understood that the sannyasi is meant to be engaging in these activities. But if my heart is impure, that means I still have lust, anger, greed in me. Then if you're putting me in that position where I'm expected to primarily be engaging in bhakti activity or jnana activity, how will I be able to handle it? I'm so hungry, and then you're putting me into a place where you're expected to eat only once a day, that too on routine food stuff. I won't be able to handle it. So after I've come to a point where it is natural for me, then it is fine. Without purification of heart, sannyas is simply a disturbance to the social order. On the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duties, whatever he may be able to advance in the cause is accepted by the Lord, Buddhi Yoga. So, if you are taking up a process or trying to situate yourself into a platform where you need to be primarily engaged in jnana activities, there are lots of expectations. But if you are supposed to be engaged in bhakti activities, then it is much easier to handle, because within bhakti there are so many different activities. If you see Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, its source book, we find for sadhana bhakti 64 items. And the 64 items, Rupa Goswami is, there's a reason why there are so many items. A number of items are meant for the body. Some of the items are meant for the mind. Some of the items are meant for speech. So our speech, our body, our mind, everything can be utilized. So bhakti is a complete process. If you simply say yes, it will do all the duties of yoga, jnana, karma. Everything can be executed through bhakti alone. The purification of heart that can come out of karma, that is the greatest benefit of karma. And karma can give ordinary material things like heavenly body and all these things, but that is all material. But purification of heart is the greatest possible achievement through karma. Similarly, jnana, the greatest possible result that can come out of it is Brahman realization. Yoga, the greatest possible result is Paramatma realization. But the bhakti process can give you everything from purification of heart up to Bhagavan realization. Everything. You want Brahman realization, that also bhakti can give you. You want Paramatma realization, that also it can give you. Everything it can happen. So on the pathway of bhakti, we don't have this kind of insecurity. Text 5.
Everyone is forced to act selflessly according to the qualities that are required from the most of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment.
Avishuddha chittaha, a person whose mind is not completely purified, Krita Vaidika Karma Sannyasaha, and he has accepted Vedic sannyas where he has abandoned all material duties. Laukike api karmani nimajjati, he will fall down into ordinary activities. Ordinary activities means not prescribed activities, just ordinary simple activities. He will fall into that. So it is not, if you are not fixed in Krishna consciousness, you will simply be dragged by the modes of material nature. You will not be able to control it. It is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness, otherwise it will be engaged in occupations dictated by the illusory energy. In contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes, and to purify the soul from such affinities, it is necessary to engage in the prescribed duties enjoined in the Shastri. But if the soul is engaged in its natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. Again, Prabhupada is quoting the same Tatvaswadharmam words, that even you may give up the activities of karma or jnana or even yoga, but if you engage in the activities of bhakti, you don't lose anything. There is no loss. So the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sannyas or any purificatory process is to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. 6.
One who refrains to center of action, but whose mind goes from sense object, certainly removes himself and will find out the failure.
Yeah, nano ragadi vyapara shunyaha mudrita putradi kaschit yadi drishyate But then you also see some people who seem to be free from attraction, repulsion. Their eyes and ears are all closed, and those people are seen. Yoyati karmendriyani vagadini samyamya manasa jnana chadmana indriyarthan shabda sparshadin smarannaste. That sannyasi who has restrained his karmendriya, his working senses, his speech and so on, but in his mind, on the pretext of meditation, he is actually contemplating on sound, touch, form, taste, smell. So, mudhatma, murkhaha, he is a fool. Mithyachara satyate. He is considered to be a person of pretentious behavior. Such a niruddha ragader ajyasya nishkama karma ananusthane manashuddhe anudaya. See, he has not engaged in non-materialistic engagement in this material prescribed duty. So his mind has not become pure, and his attractions and repulsions are not sufficiently brought under control. So even though he is endeavoring for spiritual realization, he will not get it. So the spiritual realization that he wants, I want to realize that I'm a spirit soul and so on, it will never happen. So he is just a fool. He will not get this, he will not get that. He'll get nothing. What will happen if a person of impure heart controls his action senses, karmendriya, controlling the action senses? This person still thinks of sense objects in his mind. Thus, this fool is called a pretender. Instead of, there are many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness but make a show of meditation while actually dwelling within the mind upon sense enjoyment. We used to have situations like this. We had ISKCON had its own land which needed to be cultivated, and we employed some devotees. Not we, I was not involved. ISKCON had employed some devotees, just the devotees. And their service was to actually cultivate crops. But on Ekadashi, they stopped doing it. They said, no, but today's Ekadashi, we want to chant. So then they changed the policy that we will give you a certain percentage of what you cultivate. And then we started noticing that even on Ekadashi, they're working and they're cultivating. Suddenly they developed a desire for devotional service. So this will not work. If you're chanting, you chant, which is fine. But then whether you get money, you don't get money, you chant. That is proper chanting. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers, but according to this verse, these are the greatest cheaters. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order, but if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. But he who makes a show of being a yogi while actually searching for the objects of sense gratification must be called the greatest cheater, even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy. Now, this is, if you can't do good to others, at least don't do bad to others. If you can't lead people, at least don't mislead people. His knowledge has no value because the effects of such a simple man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogic meditation has no value whatsoever. There is also a statement, Avaishnava mukhodgirnam putam harikathamritam shravanam naiva gartavyam sarpochishtam yatha payaha. Just as you are not advised to drink milk which has been touched by a snake, poisonous snake. So like that, we are also instructed to not hear pure Harikatha from a non-Vaishnava. Pure Harikatha means there is no adulteration in it. Fully pure, as it is. But even then, we are not supposed to hear it from a non-Vaishnava. Why? Because it will produce reverse effect. So it is not just Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives this example. Abhinnatvat namanamino. We know there's a verse by Rupa Goswami where he says there is no distinction between Krishna and Krishna. Comes from Padma Purana, comes in scripture. Okay. But if a person who doesn't believe in it, if he communicates it to you and you submissively hear it from him, you will also lose belief in it. So I have written here Shraddha, Prajna, Kriha, Kriya. Okay. So some of these are actually attitudes. Kriya is activity. The remaining constitute attitudes, because attitude is a combination of conviction, understanding, and desire. So if my attitudes are strange like this, I don't even believe in it, but I'm teaching it to you, then you may get the same problem that I have internally, even though externally everything seems fine. So that is why Prabhupada is saying here, his knowledge has no value because the effects of such a simple man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. So even if he instructs others, it will not have any effect. So it's not just a matter of saying 2 plus 2 is 4. More than that, Prabhupada's edition of Bhagavad Gita commentary, Bhagavad Gita as it is, why it had effect? It had effect because of its purity. It's not just that he is saying the right thing. There are so many other English editions also which say the right thing, even published by some Gaudiya Vaishnava. Correct, fully correct. Everything, almost everything in it is correct. Whereas the first edition of Bhagavad Gita as it is had so many printing mistakes. Funny mistakes it had. But even then, it convinced people that you should fully surrender unto Krishna's lotus feet. Stop everything else and fully do it. Effect. Effect is very important. So it is not enough just to repeat whatever is the correct thing. That is necessary but not sufficient. It is a necessary qualification that we should not add or subtract it. But at the same time, there is more things than that. In the background, we need purity. Purity is the fourth. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that a preacher, a pure devotee preacher, is like a poisonous snake, Vishadhara Sarpa. A poisonous snake bites once, immediately you die. But you may find another snake which is not poisonous snake, but it looks like just like the snake. It bites and bites and bites and bites and bites and you don't die. So we may go on saying Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are all eternal servants. There is no effect. That's all. So for effect to come, you require force. Purity is the force. Preaching is the essence, that's okay, but purity is the force. Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave another example that making devotee and preaching means to make devotees, but to bring many people, introduce them to Krishna Bhakti. And he said that is like fitting in bulbs inside a room. You may fit many electric bulbs in the room. But if there is no electricity, what is the use of so many electric bulbs? So he said like that, simply to bring people to Krishna consciousness is not enough. They need to engage in Shuddha Bhakti, pure Sadhana Bhakti, pure Bhava Bhakti, pure Prema Bhakti, pure devotion service they have to do. If they are not engaged in pure devotion service, there will be no light. It will be a wonderful dark house with many electric bulbs, fresh, beautiful, nice electric bulbs, which don't shine at all because there's no electricity. So purity is the fourth. So that is very important. So here also we should keep in mind. Yes, Prabhu.
In our temples, we have a schedule, Bhagavatam classes, and sometimes we need to give classes, like our sadhana, because someone should give classes on Bhagavatam. And sometimes we have words which we understand a little. We can say something about which we realize something from this verse, but sometimes the verse is from Bhagavatam, which is very difficult for our understanding, actually, apart the level of our understanding. And what to do?
At least we can discuss why we should accept the Srimad Bhagavatam when it is beyond the level of our understanding. That would be relevant. something relevant.
So it's better to say something relevant, which you understand, and then, for example, read something from the report of the chariot and just read it.
We repeat it, but we also are meant to understand. No? Knowledge, understanding, realization. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Everything is required. How can realization come when there is no understanding? Now, if you say that no, but everything will come from chanting, then okay, then you sit and chant, no? That is also okay, provided we chant like Mrigari. You know, Mrigari, he just, Narada Muni tells him, you give up your source of occupation also, no earning money, nothing. Sit and chant. That kind of chanting. No trying to get food also. Sit and chant. That kind of chanting. Sit and chant means sit and chant, that's all. Our chanting begins with 1 round. His chanting begins with 192 rounds. Chant, that's all. So if we do like that with full faith, then we know Yashadeve Parabhakti, Yasadeve Tathaguru. All Vedic knowledge will be revealed in the heart. Fine. But if I am not going through that pathway, then I have to go through another pathway, the pathway that we can accept. So there is part of sadhana bhakti where we have to analyze and study Srimad Bhagavatam to the best of our ability. We cannot give up that. We cannot give up that. And Gaudiya Vaishnava, our primary textbook is Srimad Bhagavatam actually. Even Bhagavad Gita we interpret in terms of Bhagavatam. So we have to study Srimad Bhagavatam. We may not be fully realized, but as much as it is relevant, that much can be discussed. Relevant for oneself, relevant for the audience also. We also have to consider whether it's relevant for the audience. Something is not relevant for the audience, what is the point? And the way Prabhupada kept it was, it's meant to be Ishta Goshti. We discuss it so that everyone understands, applies it, progresses. That's how we progress. Otherwise, the group doesn't progress. There's something called progress. We don't, it's not that we're just doing something and we die and we go back to God. There's some delusion I think our devotees have, that I'm just chanting 16 rounds and I'm doing my best regarding regulative principles. And after I die, one airplane will come and take me back to God. Total delusion. And that is destroying us now. We should at least understand this much. Many things are expected. 10 offenses are there. We need to avoid it. Seva is there. We need to avoid it. Simple activities we should avoid. Basic honesty. All of this has to be, it's all coming from Bhagavatam. We need to obey the Bhagavatam that we are studying. Then Krishna will help. So that is not a pretender. That is not a mithyachara. A mithyachara is a person who gives up that which he is qualified to engage in. And he has accepted things for which he is totally unqualified. Like someone prematurely accepting sannyas. Mithyachara. Post-mature sannyas is wonderful. It's only premature that Krishna is condemned. It's not just about sannyas, it's in general. Prabhupada has extended it as a general discussion. Okay, let's move on. 6, 7. Etat Vaiparityena, on the opposite side, you find Svavihita Karma Karta. You find a person who is carrying out his prescribed duties. Grahastopi Sreshtaha. He is far better. Even if he is a Grahastha, he is far better. Sinless, peaceful Grihastha in Krishna consciousness is superior to a non-sinless, peaceless, non-Grihastha in Krishna consciousness. Even though the non-Grihastha has far better facilities. That is also there. Instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living, whimsical living, and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. The prime Swarthagati, or goal of self-interest, is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of Varna and Ashram is designed to help us reach this goal of life. Where am I? A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Shastras and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. In other words, one can be a Swanishtha, then he can become a Parinishtha, then he can become a Nirupati. Step by step he can progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. So if you think that this life of non-grahastha, it seems to be a very simple, easy life. Why I need to work so hard? Why should I work like a donkey like all these grahasthas? Let me just enjoy a peaceful life. This seems to be a great company life. You have a fine, simple career, but your mind will kill you over time when you have so many material desires and you don't have the facility to experience and satisfy. Then you're just killing yourself, and it's unnecessary suicide. Totally unnecessary. Why, why, what is this? All the time, I remember there was one friend of mine, saffron Romacharia, and he would tell Sandhya Arati time, Vidvan, what am I doing in life? I'm about to reach 40. See all these happy men with their wives and their children, so nicely dressed, and everybody is sweetly smiling and chanting Hare Krishna. So I said, this is the stage. You don't know the green room, how it looks like. Then he said, but I'm only seeing the stage. I don't want to think about the green room. Green room is ugly, I know that. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. But my green room is also ugly. So, maybe it's as bad as that green room. So the grass is always green on the other side. These kind of things are there. It is a far better facility for making spiritual progress. Okay.
How one can understand that it is not qualified to be because that desire is.
No, that's what I'm saying. The desire should reduce now. Yeah, not that you wait till it will reduce after 25 years. Not like that. Come on, you're engaging in the process. You're taking the medicine. You're taking high intensity medicine. It's supposed to come. It's not coming. Then what? What? Why are you taking medicine? Why are you doing anything? We are doing everything for effect only now. Sambandha Vidaya Prayojana. Prayojana should come. Why is not coming? Prabhupada in Mayapur was complaining. For 10 years they're chanting Hare Krishna, still they have so many material desires. What is this? He said it is in Sanskrit there's one proverb that there are some people who are so determined to never become fully spiritual. So their hearts are considered to be like charcoal. So when you try to clean charcoal, your hand becomes dark and black. The charcoal doesn't become white. Rather, your hand becomes black. So he said, I'm trying to clean their hearts and my hands are getting black. So, because if you follow the process properly, if you see in that Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Rupa Goswami, simple process. Here's a simple process. He says, it's a creeper, you pour water, and there are certain weeds, remove the weeds. It's very simple formula. You can, it's like the modern dream. You can write the formula in your t-shirt. There. A very simple set of verses, just some 5-10 verses, that's it. Just do that. That's all. Instant effect will happen. And instead of instant effect, it is going on. What is this? Somewhere it should be, should be proper, Otherwise, what? How many lifetimes it's going to drag on? As far as same, Alpadine Bhavaday Hoy, Bhakti says, within a few days one attains Bhava Bhakti. It's simply going on, and suffering at another nivritti stage, simply. And we don't even know whether we are progressing or regressing. What is that? At least you should know if you're progressing. Progressing slowly also, but you should know that. Everything is so uncertain, confused, why I really wonder what is going on. So at least this much should be clear. We signed up for a hospital. Now we should check whether the health is improving or not. And not that we go on saying, no, but I like this doctor. This doctor, I like him. You like that other? Not so good doctor. My doctor is very. Your doctor is good or that doctor is good. That is not the point. The point is whether your health is improving or not. That we should keep checking now. We cannot say that we are completely sick like before. Some improvement has happened. That much we can see. When you see plus and minus both. We ourselves should be able to check. Last year how it was. This year how it is. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends every Ekadashi we do a check. Self-check. Check whether we have progressed or regressed. But at least once a year. Ganyas Prabhu used to say every day in the morning you have to check. Are you going towards the goal or are you going away from the goal? Do a reality check every day. Otherwise, what we are doing, why we are here? We could also be congregation, and just progress. But we are having a facility for high speed. Somebody is giving you a flight ticket, and accept it. The flight ticket is not necessarily wrong. Just go through the procedure. Everything should be proper. Okay, next verse. Niyatam iti tasmat tvam. Therefore, you avishuddha chitta. You're a person whose mind is impure. Niyatam avashyaka karam. Avashyaka karam. Kuru. So you should carry out your compulsory duties. Chitta vishuddhaya, for the purification of your mind. Nishkamataya. Swavihitam karma acharam. So without materialistic desire, carry out your prescribed duties. This is the teaching. This is what Krishna is teaching here. Autsukyam matrena karma tyajato maline siddhi jnana aprakasha. If one simply out of enthusiasm gives up his material prescribed duties with a contaminated heart, he will not attain spiritual realization. Kimcha akarmanaha, sanyasta sarva karmanaha. And if you have abandoned all your material activities, tava sharira yatra deha nirvaho upi na siddhe. How will you maintain your body? Yavat sadhana purti deha dharanasya avashakatvat. Because your body has to be maintained until your sadhana is complete. Tadartham jnani bhikshatanadi karma anutishtati. So even the person with knowledge, spiritual realization, he goes for begging. And he is also engaged in that material duty which is appropriate for the sannyasi. Such a kshatriyasya tava anuchitam. But that is inappropriate for you. You are a kshatriya. Because kshatriya cannot accept sannyas. Tasmat swavihitena yuddha praja palanadi karmana shulkani vittani uparjya. So through your material prescribed duty of going for a war, protecting the citizens under you, through all these material duties, you must earn properly, purely, sinlessly. And with that, you should be able to maintain your body. For an unqualified person, karma is better than renouncing karma. When one cannot even maintain the body by giving up your karmas, how is it possible to give up karma? Thus, while giving up kamya karma, fight, protect the citizens and performing nitya karma, sandhya upasana, etc. When the heart becomes pure, Surpassing the stage of jnana, you will attain nirguna bhakti. Attaining the stage of jnana, you will attain the Atma as it is. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duties as set forth for the Kshatriyas. Arjuna was a householder and a military gentleman. Therefore, it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. Such activities gradually cleanse the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance is never approved by the Lord, nor by any religious scripture. After all, one has to maintain one's body and soul together by some work. Work should not be given up capriciously, whimsically, without purification of materialistic propensity. Anyone who is in the material world is certainly possessed of the impure propensity for lording it over material nature, or in other words, for sense gratification. Such polluted propensities have to be cleared. Without doing so through prescribed duties, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendentalist, renouncing work and living at the cost of others. 9.
Work done is a sacrifice for which actually performed. The work for which something in this integration. Therefore, what kind of duty? Perform your prescribed duty for which sacrifice. In that case, you will always be
Nanu karmani krite bandhaha bhavet. If I engage in my material duties, I will become bound. Karmana bhatyate jantuhu. The living creature becomes bound because of material duties. Ityadi smarana. Because we know, the scripture says this thing. Iti anticipating this, the Lord speaks the current word, yagyartha. Yagyaha parameshwaraha. Yagyo vai Vishnu ritishrute. The word yagya here refers to Lord Yagya. Yagya is one of the names of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Tadartha. Tattosha phala karmanaha. Anyatra. Swasukha phalaka karmani. Priyamani. Ayam loka prani. Karmabandhana. Karmana bhatyate. No, that scriptural statement is correct. That one is bound by one's material duties. That binding is for all performances of material duties that are performed for one's own material happiness. But if one executes them for Lord Vishnu's satisfaction, that means Lord Vishnu is satisfied when we are all coming to the point of our constitutional position. That means for purification of heart. So for purification of heart, when I engage in my material activities as prescribed, as appropriate, then that will not bind. Tasmat tadartham Vishnu poshartham karma samadham. So you carry out your material prescribed duties fully for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. But mukta sangaha, tyakta sukha vilashaha. You must give up your hankering for material pleasures. Nyaya uparjita dravya siddhena yagyadina Vishnur aradhya tacheshena dehayatram kurvan nabadhyati. Through a sinless means of livelihood, when you acquire items and you utilize it for fire sacrifices and other engagements, when you worship Lord Vishnu and with his remnants, you maintain your body, you will not be bound. Nishkama karma offered to the Lord, or Nishkama karma to satisfy the Lord, is called yagya. Karma should be performed for yagya. In other words, yagya is not just offering fire sacrifice. Even when you perform your material prescribed duties, in order to attain eternal service to the Lord by becoming pure in heart, that is also a sacrifice. It will have the effect of sacrifice. Karma should be performed for yagya. Know that all other karmas except these are called bondage of karma. Do all karmas for the purpose of yagya. Even karmas performed for satisfaction of the Lord are offered to the Lord with the aim of personal desires or causes of bondage. Because you may perform your material duties in order to please the Lord, but in order to please yourself also. Like, for instance, that Daksha, he performs austerity in order to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu, in order that he can have many, many children, so that he can have a good time with his wife. So here now he wants Lord Vishnu to be satisfied. He wants Lord Vishnu himself to appear and bless him. So he wants the Lord to be satisfied. But he also wants to be satisfied. So this is not what Krishna is talking of here. Therefore, devoid of desire for results of karma, perform karma offered to the Lord for satisfying the Lord. Such karmas being a genuine means to Bhakti Yoga will produce Nirguna Bhakti, having aroused knowledge of Bhagavat Tattva. Yajna means Lord Vishnu or sacrificial performances. Two meanings the word yajna has. It can either mean Lord Vishnu or it can mean sacrificial performance. All sacrificial performances also are meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. The Varnashram institution, okay, so in Krishna consciousness, we directly try to satisfy the Lord, and in the Varnashram system also, we are trying to satisfy the Lord. The Varnashram institution also aims at satisfying Lord Vishnu. Varnashram acharavata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradhyate. In fact, the verse continues, Vishnu aradhyate pantha nanyat tattosha karanam. You cannot satisfy Lord Vishnu in any other way. This is actually meant for any Purusha. See, Varnashram acharavata purushena. So anybody who's got a Purusha bhava and who is interested in pursuing his Purusha bhava. If you want to get rid of your Purusha bhava, that is a different thing. But you're saying, no, I cannot get rid of it. It is there with me. Only God can remove it from me. If you're going with like that, then you have to engage in karma. You have to engage in the Varnashram system. Nanya Tattoshaka, there's no other way to satisfy Lord Vishnu. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage. Will be a cause of bondage means you will be unable to get out of the cycle of birth and death forever. Through pious activity or sinful activity, you will be unable to get out of it now and forever, because it's just material. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu, and while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work. And in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna, or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to the transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. One more verse I have. Extend.
In the beginning of the creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generation of men and demigod, along with the sacrifice for Vishnu, and blessed him by saying, "Be Lord, happy by this judgment sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living, achieving, and achieving liberation."
But if you do not engage in service to Lord Yajna, and with his remnants, if you don't maintain your body, you are going to experience problems. With that in mind, he speaks a series of verses beginning with this one. This is the Lord's instruction, original instruction. Here the word Prajapati, notice the word Prajapati. Purovacha Prajapatihi. Prajapati refers to the Lord of the creatures. It has two meanings. It can refer to Lord Vishnu, who is the ultimate Lord of all creatures, or it can refer to Lord Brahma. Sri Baladevi Devabhushana Prabhu is talking about Lord Vishnu here. Prajapati Sarveshwaraha Vishnuhu, because the Shruti has stated Patim Vishwasya Atmeshwaram. In the scriptures, the Supreme Lord Krishna himself has been described as Prajapati. So the Supreme Lord came up with this plan. Anena Vedoktena Madarpitena Yagyena Yuyam Prasavishyadbham. Please be satisfied through performance of this form of Yajna. It has been taught in the Vedas, and it should be offered to me. When you offer it to me, and when you carry out this activity, then it will become Eshavostu Ishta Kamadhuk. It will be the bestower of all desirable things for you. Ishtakamatu, Krid Vishuddhi, Atmajnana, Dehayatra, Sampadana Dwara, Vanchita Moksha Pradaha. Ultimately, the happiness that you want is liberation. That happiness which you are aspiring for, you can get it through this, because you will get purification of heart, you will get self-realization, and your body will be maintained. So all three you will be able to get it. Okay, I want someone to read out this purport.
If one is not able to perform the calm karma, one should perform karma of the Lord, even with material desire. By no means should one perform the karma, simple as or karma, giving up karma. Having created all around India and creation, Dhamma gives the order. Taking shelter of this dharma in the form of India, gospel inspiration. This yoga will restore all your desire, Atma Jnana. This purifies the heart and liberation by your body.
The material creation by the Lord of creatures, Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Notice that in Srimad Bhagavatam, Prajapati comes in the first line, page 154, in the first Sanskrit words quoted here. Shriyah Patir Yagyapatir Prajapatir, Prajapati. This is a description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, the Lord himself is described as Prajapati. So he created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yagyas or sacrifices for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So that while in the material world, they can live very comfortably without anxiety. And after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. So this is the first preference, in fact. The first preference for the conditioned souls is actually track number 2. You just go through it, finish it off in one lifetime. Finish it. For those who don't want one lifetime, okay, that's a slower track. But one lifetime given to you. This track 3 is a super fast track. This is for those who are actually blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, blessed by Radharani, and so on. But Lord Narayana is very much bothered about the vast majority. You cannot expect them to give up everything and all. So one lifetime, take one lifetime. Prabhupada also in general spoke about one lifetime. He gave the impression. You have done so many things in so many lifetimes. No, one lifetime you do it. Repeatedly, Prabhupada thought of that. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures, and this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtan Yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna in his devotional form as Lord Chaitanya is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan Yajna. Krishnavarnam, Tushakrishnam, Sangopangastra Bhakshadam, Yajna Sankirtana Prayer, Vigantihi Sumedhasaha. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates, by performance of Sankirtan Yajna. Other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali, but the Sankirtan Yajna is easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita also. Okay, I'll stop with this. Actually, there's one more verse. I'll take it up tomorrow. Tomorrow we have only one session. No? Fine. Okay. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasinubhyo vacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Which one? This is which one? Left or right? Left is Baladeva Jyotish. It's in Sanskrit. Yes, Gita Bhushana, you will get it in English translation, you'll get it. You'll get it. What are the 6 limbs of surrender? Okay, wait, I'll show you that. That's a good question. No. There is no difference between the teachings of Lord Chaitanya presented here. You can see that? Yeah. And the teachings of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya are practical demonstrations of Lord Krishna's teachings. Lord Krishna's ultimate instruction in the Bhagavad Gita is that everyone should surrender unto him, Lord Krishna. Krishna promises to take immediate charge of such a surrendered soul. The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is already in charge of the maintenance of this creation by virtue of his plenary expansion. Kshirodakshai Vishnu. But this maintenance is not direct. However, when the Lord says that he takes charge of his pure devotee, he actually takes direct charge. A pure devotee is a soul who is forever surrendered to the Lord, just as a child is surrendered to his parents or an animal to its master. In the surrendering process, one should accept things favorable for discharging devotion service, reject things unfavorable, firmly believe that the Lord will always protect his devotee, feel exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord, have no interest separate from the interest of the Lord, and always feel meek and humble. The Lord demands that one surrender unto him by following the 6 guidelines. But the unintelligent so-called scholars of the world misunderstand these demands and urge the general mass of people to reject them. 6 items. Very, very important. Maximal bhakti and all begins with surrender. Adav Shraddha. That's it.